Hello everyone and welcome back to another DMO guide video, and this is gonna be my Royal Base dungeon guide. So yeah, Royal Base is one of the best dungeon in terms of farming money, because it is where you can get the material to craft the bracelet. The only way to obtain these bracelets is from the Royal Guide. This one you need a quest inside the inside the Royal Base, and this also crafted from an item from the Royal Base as well. Yeah, these two items and this one as well is the one you can get from the Royal Base. So yeah, it is one of the best dungeons to make money, and yeah, it is like a mid late game dungeon, like late mid game. So it's not a quite like an end game dungeon. It is like one of the harder mid game dungeons, and yeah, so it is quite hard, but yeah, it's not impossible to do. Alright, so as always, we'll talk about the requirement, what you need to do the dungeon, and then we'll talk about how to get this requirement, and finally we're gonna go into a party and yeah, do the dungeon and show you how it works and whatnot, and yeah, let's get started. Alright, so the first step would be unlocking the dungeon. Now, if you enter the Verdalian terminal map, you actually won't see that NPC over there, because you need to do the main quests first until you finally unlock the NPC, which is Galantamon, is where you can enter the dungeon, and of course take the quest to have the passes to the Royal Base dungeon. Now, you can get up to 3 passes per day. This is a daily quest. Of course, it will ask you to collect 5 items. They are dropped from any mob in this map, except the Durugurumons, or the Dex Durugreymon. That's the only one that does not drop the item. So just kill any mob and collect the 5 items and report it, and when you get it, you can enter the Royal Base dungeon. Now, even if you are still like early game and you can't really do the dungeon right now, I would highly recommend to do it now and keep doing the daily quest every day, so you stack as much passes as you can, so whenever you can do it, you would already have a lot of passes to do a lot of runs. So that would be the first step. Alright, so now you unlock the dungeon. The next step is to basically get good. It's not an easy one. It's you need like a good Digimon, like a triple S rank Digimon. And yeah, so the final boss of the dungeon is Virus and Darkness. So the most recommended Digimon in this dungeon is Alphamon or Ryokin X, which of course you can get from the newly added Gankumon dungeon. On Sunday, when you do it, you can get the loot box, which have 1% chance of giving you AOX beta. And yeah, of course you can do that, or 33k X tickets and a quest. But yeah, Gankumon is probably the best way to get it. So yeah, Alphamon Ryokin X is the most recommended Digimon to be used in the Royal Base dungeon. There are other like light attribute and vaccine Digimons that are good in Royal Base. UVX, Alphorus Vidramon X, is basically a weaker version of AOX, but it also works very well in the Royal Base, except you need a little bit more HP. The other good Digimon, and I think the best 2 Digimons, are either Omegamon X or Alphamon or Ryokin X Awaken. But of course they are for whales only, so if you are a free-to-play player, then Alphamon or Ryokin X is the best you can do, and it is already very good Digimon, and it can do Royal Base. Alright, so now we have the Digimon out of the way. What else do you need? So the required stats for the dungeon is about 50,000 HP and DPS that does not go less than 120k DPS. So your DPS needs to be consistently high, above 120k DPS, and it can never go below 120k DPS, even if you don't use skills, because that is very important, because yeah, the last boss will inflict you with silence, which prevents you from using skills. So yeah, so how to get that much HP? So if we'll take a look at my HP right now, it is not great. You can say I have 1.6k from accessories, so that's only one HP options. Preferably you would need like 2 options or 3 on your accessories, 2 to 3 HP options, so you can get as much HP. So if we take that number, 15k with double HP buffs, I will have about 47.9k HP, which is not enough for Royal Base, or actually it is almost enough. Now 50k HP is the most recommended amount. Now yeah, 50k is like the recommended. You can get away with slightly less, but to be 100% safe, 50k or above is the best. Now of course, as I said, with double buffs I still won't reach enough HP, so I can either, now I'm using triple attack ship sets. So if you don't have, if I like plop in a single HP ship set, then I will have enough. Or if I use my tamer, which I'm using Hikari for that reason, because I lack HP, so I'm using Hikari. So if I do that, as you can see, I have extra HP, and with double buffs I have about 53k or 52k HP, which is more than enough. And as you can see, I have a quite a decent number from the seals. Of course, my Digimon is transcended. Of course, he's 137%, and HB, I think that's close to perfect clone. You can say I'm getting 8k HB from clone and 1.7k from clothing and 2.6k from seals. And yeah, if we take a look at my seals, it's nothing fancy. It's no, I wouldn't call it bad, but it's adequate, I would say. Everything at 1k except for this guy for some reason. Yeah, everything here is at 1k. Same thing to the attack as well. You can see all the expensive ones are at 1, which yeah, they give me not that much. Like this one, one Digimon seal give me 30 attack and whatnot, and all other at 1k. You can preferably go for 3k seals on attack, which will give you, like, I would say extra 400 or 500 HP attack if you go for 3k, which would help as well. So yeah, now in terms of attack, we can take a look at that. You need to have all possible attack options on your accessories. You can see I have 2.5k from accessories, which 2 options on the ring, 1 on the bracelet, and 1 on the necklace. And I'm getting 600 from the tamer. That is from my glove. And yeah, attack is also, I'm getting exactly 8,000 attack, which is also perfect cloned at 15, of course. And yeah, that is basically the thing you need. There's also critical, but because mobs over there is level 99, so you don't need a lot of critical. 100% I would say is enough. Like if you have 100%, 120 or something, would be more than enough for real base. So yeah, that is basically what you need. A vaccine light Digimon with HB that is above 550k HB, and attack that is, well, something like this. This is probably enough. Yeah, I will go there and do a run in a second, but yeah, something similar to this would be good for royal base. Now, if you don't have as much seals as I do, which is actually my seals are kind of bad, but if you don't have seals, for example, if you just can't get as much HB, then if you are lacking HB, then what you can do is you can use the tamer Hikari. So because I'm using Hikari, I'm getting extra 10% HB, and I have the encouragement, which increases my HB by 30%, which you would only use at the final boss, which yeah, that's what helps me on having enough HB for royal base. Now, if you are lacking attack, then you can use either Taishi or Ryu tamers. Those have a strong tamer skill that increases your DPS. Well, that also would help. If you are lacking both, then what you can do is you can use Hikari for HB and then have Guardian of no, not Guardian. If you are lacking both attack and HB, then what you can use to increase it a little bit is use, for example, Hikari for extra HB and use Ruler of Light for extra DPS, or quite the opposite as well can work. You can use Ryo or Taishi for extra DPS and have Guardian of Light. Now, other thing to mention is the Digivice. So this is a Digivice I'm using. It's beginning, the device of beginning level 2. It's slightly weaker than the Adventure level 1 and the True Vice. But yeah, this Digivice, of course, you can get from the Tokyo Daiba dungeon, Tokyo Daiba raids and whatnot. Yeah, it is recommended to have a Digivice, as this one increases your skill damage by a substantial amount, especially with that F3. It's actually quite useful, so it will increase your burst damage a lot. For UVX, you probably need a lot more added HB, since UVX have much lower HB than AOX, and if you have Omegamon X or Alphamon Ryoken Awaken, then you will not struggle as much in getting as much HB and DPS because they are already pretty strong. And yeah, with that, let's jump right into the dungeon. But before that, there are even more requirements which I forgot. You need to have the skill Pray. It is Mimi's skill, so if you are using the Tamer Mimi, you will have it. If you're not using Mimi like I do, then the way to get it is from the cash shop, or you can buy it from other players, or the way that most player gets it is from the reward and exchange thing, the server reward coin, which you can get whenever there is a maintenance. I think you get 2 or 3 every 2 weeks, and yeah, you can use it to get the skill Pray. This skill will like heals your HB and your party's HB by 40%. This is definitely needed in royal base. You can't do it without it unless you have, I don't know, Hand of Healing Heist for UVX, or Hand of Healing Heist and Guardian Heist. But yeah, it is definitely needed to have Pray. It's a requirement as well. Another thing that is not a requirement but is also quite useful to have is Hand of Healing. Now I have Hand of Healing 2, which is pretty weak, but yeah, 3 is better. But if you like at least 2 people in your party have Hand of Healing level 2, it will be quite a useful thing when you are fighting the boss, the final boss. So yeah, Hand of Healing definitely comes in handy, but it's not a requirement. Having a healing skill on your Digimon is generally helpful, but yeah, it is really helpful in the royal base. But of course, you can't get away without having it. But yeah, now let's jump right into the dungeon. Alright, so here I am. I'm doing it with completely random people. I already did a couple of runs, and yeah, again, random people. You can see most of them are using AOX. I think one of them have AOA, and yeah. So the first room of the dungeon is the Royal Knight's room. So there are five, actually six Royal Knights. There are Craniamon, Dynasmon, Examon, Lord Nightmon, Sleepmon, and Alforce Vidramon. They are all level 99 and they have about 10,000 HP. Slightly less than 10,000 according to the wiki, but yeah, so they are pretty straightforward. They will deal damage, so you need to heal. Now, every time you enter the dungeon, you will face 3 Royal Knights. There will be everyone will spawn at the room. It's kind of randomized, so every time you will face different Royal Knights combination than the other run. Now, the first 4, which are Craniamon, Dynasmon, Examon, and Lord Nightmon, are pretty straightforward. Now, keep in mind that most of the Royal Knights will have a small circle skill debuff thingy, the Mega Sidramon skill. So if you take too long, they will use the circle skill, which will do damage depending on how many people in this circle. So if there's a lot of people, there will do less damage, and if there's only one person, then you will basically die because it will do a lot of damage. The Mega Sidramon circle skill, if you take too long, they will use it, but it shouldn't be a problem. Now, the Royal Knights generally are really weak, so they should not be a problem. You can just kill them. Now, keep in mind that Examon, for some reason, in this dungeon is vaccine instead of data. And yeah, most of them are easy. They can even be soloable. You can even like solo the Royal Knights. Now, I said that all of them are pretty straightforward except Sleepmon and Alforce Vidramon. They are still very easy. Sleepmon will have the X data core. Now, don't panic. It's a thing. Most people kill it first, doesn't kill Sleepmon, or you can do it the opposite, doesn't really matter. And Alforce Vidramon is slightly different. You will have a gate, and it will summon Dexduruguru Greymons. Ignore them, basically. Just, yeah, kill the gate. That's how people do it. You kill the gate and then kill Alforce Vidramon. It's the easiest one. And yeah, so that is the first Royal Knight this is the first Royal Knight room. It's very easy. It's just, yeah, after you kill the Royal Knights, just move on to the next room. They are pretty straightforward. Alright, so the next room is the room with 2 portals. So there are 2 portals that will lead you to a different room. The room on the right is the room to the boss. Not the final boss, the one before the final boss. The next is Duru Greymon. And then the boss in the left is to the egg room. And of course, they will not be unlocked. There will be 2 portals to get mobs or bosses. They don't deal damage really, but they have some high number HP, so you need to kill them to have access to the room. So how it works is you basically kill the gates and then move on. So how this works is you have 3 people fighting the boss. So 3 people will go on the right and one person will go on the left to do the egg room. Now Dexduru Greymon, or whatever it's called, Dexduruguramon, is pretty straightforward. It have also like almost the same HP as Royal Knight, but is slightly stronger when it comes to attack. Now inside the boss itself will have a debuff, or to him at least a buff that increases the damage that deals to you. And yeah, so this buff will always be there if you are not killing the eggs. So when you have one person killing the eggs, the buff that boss have will gone. So you just go in there, kill the boss, and make sure someone is killing the eggs. It's really that simple now. And yeah, with 3 people you still should be able to take it fairly easily. And yeah, with that, the final gate will open, and when you move there, you will be moved to the final room, which is Yggdrasil's room. And yeah, so moving on to the final room, Yggdrasil's room, what you need to do is you need to move to the wall. That is the first thing and the most important thing you do. You move to the wall. And of course you heal, you regroup. If you are using Hikari, then plop on the buff and whatnot. Now at this time you should not be using your prey. You should have all 4 party members have prey ready and whatnot. Alright, so what happens now is you set up a prey order. Now it's something that most people do before they reach the final room. But yeah, so prey order is basically you will use prey with like order. Yeah, you go from the first one and to the 4th until the last person use it with an order, of course. Now other thing to mention is most people write in chat when they use prey, so they know whose turn next and whatnot. Now Digimon have about 23 million HP. Yeah, it is a really high HP. It has 3 skills and they both deal a lot of damage. The first skill, they're 13k damage, second skill 26k damage. and the third skill is a small circle skill, but you kind of use it towards the ending of it. Sometimes if you are like a good party, you can skip the skill, but the first two skills, you're actually gonna use them quite a lot. We spam the heck out of the skills. Now of course, dealing 13k HP and 26k HP is a lot. There you can't like heal from it. Even special chicken combo, you can't like heal with that much. So this is why we use spray to heal from the skills. So you stand there, you let someone lure the boss, and when it comes, you will plop on all. If you are using Taishi or Ryu, you use your tamer skill and just do as much burst damage as possible. Now towards like the middle of the fight, Digimon will use a debuff, as a silence debuff, which is gonna prevent you from using skill. This is why it's important to do consistent 120k DPS damage per second, even without skills, because you need to finish this boss quickly, because you only have 4 praise, so you can only heal the damage you take from the boss skills 4 times. So this is why it is really required to have a pretty high DPS and a pretty high HP to survive the skills as well and be able to heal using prey. Now of course, don't only count on prey for healage, use your potions and memory skill as well to heal. And yeah, it should be pretty straightforward with a good party. Other thing to keep in mind is you only use spray after the silence, so make sure so if you are in a good party, you won't take a lot of damage before it uses silence. So yeah, as you can see, the boss kinda dies quickly, depends on how fast or how good or bad your party is, but you really need to have a very high burst damage to kill it very quickly. And yeah, there's not really much to say other than if you have the minimum requirements I just said, and with the right timing of prey, you can hopefully take down the boss. And once again, make sure you heal whenever you can, don't only count on prey. This is why hand of healing will kinda come in handy, because sometimes prey would heal you, but you have still like 15k less HP or 10k less HP, so blobbing on a hand of healing as well will help slight a bit. Make sure you monitor yourself and your party's HP as well. And yeah, it is basically this. And when you are done, you can talk to the NPC and leave, or you can leave the party. Most people, if they are using Omegamon X or Ryu, they will leave the party, because when you leave the party, it kind of resets the skill cooldown. So that's what some people do. You leave the party and then you invite them after. And yeah, now that's basically it for the rail-based dungeon. It is I gotta say, it is one of the best dungeons to make money. So hopefully the video is helpful. Of course, all items in the dungeons are tradable. One thing to also keep in mind is that some bosses here drop the seals. I think all of them drop seals, but the difference is seals need to be picked up from the ground. So yeah, keep that in mind. But I personally don't really care about the seals when I do rail-based runs. So yeah, that is basically my rail-based guide. With that, thank you very much for watching. If you still have any question, please leave them down in the comments. I will make sure to answer that. And yeah, with that, if you think this video was helpful, then make sure you leave a like on it. And if you're enjoying the content, and if you want more DMO content and guides and whatnot, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And with that, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. See ya!